Hello, my name is Christian and this is my 9th video. In this video I'm going to be speaking about prejudice, zombies, and a new concept that I've come up with called permanence. This video was prompted by people that I had seen online. In organizing events, you have lots of people respond to the promotion that you put out for events, and there seems to be a particular theme in a lot of the responses that I've noticed. So this concept that I've developed is, I suppose, a response to that, or a description of it, rather. So I'm going to start by describing where this concept came from, and then I'm going to show some examples of these comments relating it to it, and then I'm going to wrap it up by talking about zombies. So we begin with object permanence, which is an idea broadly attributed to the Swiss developmental psychologist Jean Piaget. So object permanence, you're probably aware of it. It's the understanding that an object continues to exist, or a person continues to exist, even if one can't see them, hear them, smell them, or perceive them at the time. So the idea is that we are not born with object permanence, we develop it. This is why it's so startling to little children when you play peekaboo with them, and why they seem so startled when you hide an object beneath a blanket and then you reveal it, and then eventually why this stops to amaze them, because they gain the understanding that just because they can't see something, it doesn't mean it's ceased to exist and then popped back into existence once they can see it again. No, they've developed object permanence. Now, I'm going to put up here, pause the video and read aloud some comments that I've been seeing online in response to some of my friends and some of my events. Where are all the churchies? People who go to Sunday Mass and preach about how Jesus saves you. Where are they? Are they saving anyone? Are they acting like Christians? Are they putting their money where their mouth is? There are 2 major churches central in Frio. What are they and their believers doing? A little bit further, as people responded to this commenter, it became apparent that she actually doesn't live in Fremantle or in Western Australia or Australia. She lives in Sri Lanka. So this is in response to my friend Freya's post about a friend of hers who's sleeping rough, and she raised a whole bunch of money for him, helped him out. He's since doing much better. Freya, mind you, regular takes in streeties, often has them staying at her house. She does a great deal in the community. She was recently nominated for Citizen of the Year. He's your mate, you say? Why isn't he on your couch or lounge room floor? There's no way I'd leave any mate of mine on the street like that. This is in response to an event that I recently had, which had a lived experience speaker on sleeping rough, the chief operating officer from the local homeless shelter, the new mayor whose main platform is sleeping rough, and my aforementioned friend Freya, who does a great deal for people sleeping rough. This person has written this. This is the problem. When out of touch and reality hobjobs discuss a topic where only one person in a group has experienced homelessness. What exactly are the hobnobbers going to discuss with any meaning? Then the public listen to this and believe it to be reality. These kinds of comments, they're not uncommon. They're very common. These are expressions of a kind of prejudice in the reader, a prejudgment. They are arriving and commenting with the pre-made judgment of what a person has been up to, what a person is doing, even if it's a person that they don't know, and what other people are getting up to out there to help out with particular issues. And so you will have an event around, for example, people sleeping rough. And then you will have a commenter say something like, well, what are the organizers actually doing about people sleeping rough? What are the speakers actually doing out there about people sleeping rough? The city isn't doing anything. The government isn't doing anything. Communities and churches, none of these institutions are doing anything. What are they doing? And I understand that oftentimes when these are posted, they're in the grey area between an expression of genuine bemusement and a rhetorical statement, which is a exclamation mark masquerading as a question mark. I understand that. But I suggest that a lot of the time what these people are exhibiting is effort permanence, or the lack thereof. So here's what I mean when I say this. See if you can spot it online from here on. If object permanence is the understanding that an object or person continues to exist even if we can't see them, then effort permanence is the understanding that efforts are still being made even if we're ignorant of them. Okay? Now, while babies, infants, will typically develop object permanence by the age of 10 months to 1 year old, these commenters on social media demonstrate that one can become a full-grown adult without demonstrating effort permanence. That is, they do not see the efforts that are occurring out there. They don't go out and look for them. They do not observe or participate in the efforts, and so they presume that no effort is being made. They lack effort permanence. So this is the term that I'm going to use to describe this from now on. I think it's a valuable one, right? The next time you see somebody respond to a post online by saying, well, what does the original poster actually do? Especially if this person is a stranger. This person is exhibiting a lack of effort permanence. They can't see it, and so it doesn't exist. I understand that this concept is a bit of a dig. It certainly is. I'm having a bit of a dig at the bad behavior of these people that I consider to be exhibiting behavior comparable to an infantile mentality, yet they can still use social media. So it is a bit of fun. But nonetheless, isn't it quite descriptive? They are lacking effort permanence, and instead they are just expressing a ill-founded prejudice, or as a result, they are expressing an ill-founded prejudice and inviting others to join in. So there it is, effort permanence. That's my contribution to the internet in 2025. Now, I'm going to relate this to zombies. So, back in the dream time, in the older days, we came up with a term for bad behavior online. We described these people as trolls, people who would put something out there, hide beneath their little bridge, and then wait for people to bite the bait for a bit of fun. Harmful fun, not harmless fun, harmful fun, oftentimes. I've been thinking of what other monsters can be used to describe these kinds of behaviors. This lack of intent permanence. So, as you know, the zombie is one of the most famous monsters in the modern era. Okay, it's defeated the other monsters. I mean, werewolves and vampires, they briefly had their time with Twilight and whatnot, but the zombie for a long time reigned supreme. And if you're familiar with the work of Slovenian philosopher Slavoj Žižek, or any kind of pop philosophy really, or commentary in cultural studies that you're likely to see online or in psychoanalysis, you probably already find it cliche, the analysis of our fascination with the zombie. That is, the zombie is an expression of our anxiety surrounding individualism and the loss thereof, and mindless consumerism. So we live in very individualized times, right? Individual autonomy and agency is seen as very, very important, but we live in times defined by consumerism. In fact, the person is largely defined by what they consume, and then this leads to a tension and anxiety where we worry about disappearing into the horde, becoming a mindless, shuffling consumer without thoughts of our own, eating the minds of others simply to get by, right? We are de-individualized, become a part of a horde, shuffling, mindless, a zombie. It's a good analysis, it makes sense, it's certainly relatable. When I was young, a new film came out called 28 Days Later, and it's a brilliant film. It's fantastic. In this film, the zombie takes a turn. In these films, the zombie doesn't shuffle, it runs. Indeed, it sprints. And the zombie isn't necessarily mindless, or rather, the zombie is not devoid of emotion. The zombie has an emotion, a single one, a specific one, and that's rage. The zombie is filled with rage. Not only do they have an emotion, but they emote. There's an iconic moment in 28 Days Later where a boy zombie, the youngest zombie encountered in the film, if I remember correctly, screams that he hates the protagonist. Right? He's flinging his head around, red-eyed, and screams, "I hate you." Okay? Now, if we, just for a bit of fun, continue the analysis, what does this say about the concerns, the anxieties expressed through the zombie? I think, at least by my reckoning, it expresses the turn toward an ambient anxiety, an ambient rage in late capitalism. People are furious but not quite sure where to direct that fury, right? You can't be angry at the individual because the individual is just a part of the system. Don't hate the player, hate the game. And how does one hate a game? How does one hate a system if not by poorly directed screaming of hate? Yeah? It becomes a fast pace, outrunning of one another in the expressions of our rage. It's a wonderful film, but recently, this year, a new film came out called 28 Years Later, and it's brilliant. I can't recommend it enough. So for this next part, spoiler warnings. And keep in mind that we're still connecting this to the poor behavior of people online, right? If the analogy of the first shuffling zombie is to the mindless consumer purchasing things online, Internet 1.0, right? And then Internet 2.0, the social media era, is people now expressing their rage online. The internet itself becomes a toxic pit of rage, where people reassert their individuality by raging against others and expressing their hate and their anger indiscriminately at strangers, like the little boy screaming, "I hate you." Then what of 28 years later? So here we have a hopeful idea. So in 28 years later, spoiler warning, lots of time has passed and the protagonists encounter a pregnant zombie in the act of giving birth. And so distracted is this zombie in the act of giving birth that it doesn't take out its hate on the protagonists. It's too busy. It's giving birth. And in a really peculiar moment that I didn't see coming in the film, that's a lie. I did see it coming, because there's a turn toward rehumanization of monsters in our fiction and literature nowadays. The orc is humanized, and now the zombie is humanized. Predator even currently has been humanized. So it was predictable in a way, I suppose. But I digress. This woman encounters this zombie giving birth and helps her give birth. She becomes a midwife to the zombie, right? Now, what kind of baby does a zombie infected with rage give? Well, what period are we in? Is it a description of hopelessness or hopefulness? Now, I know that the idea of tabula rasa, the blank slate, is deeply dubious and profoundly incorrect in many ways. But nonetheless, for narrative purposes, the writer of the film gifted us an example of tabula rasa. The baby is not born a zombie. It's not born the sprinting dead or infected by rage. It's born a healthy human baby. Okay? Now, consider this. It might be that these tendencies towards rage and wrath are something that we might be passing down genetically or epigenetically, to be more precise, from one generation to the next. And so these horrible behaviors that you see exhibited by people, these demonstrations of a sheer lack of character, yes, that might be passed on to the child, potentially. That's one hypothesis. But another, as expressed by 28 years later, is that a new baby is born and a new chance is made of civility and of decency and of an alternative to mindlessness or to rage. Yeah? It may well be that just as people realize that other people taking ether was a really bad idea. And then just as people realized that people taking cocaine was a bad idea, and people becoming alcoholics or chain smoking or beating their wife, or each generation can look back at other generations and say, how is it that they did that to themselves? What were they thinking? Yeah? It might be that we turn around, or rather our children turn around, and look at our behaviors online and our use of technology with shock horror. They're aghast and they think, what were they thinking? People sure did behave poorly and mad during that period, didn't they? It may well be that we are witnessing a blip on the radar, and we will see an improvement in intent permanence in the future once we get back out there into the real world and away from these horrid distractions. This is Farthing, by the way. We're going to take us nuts.
Bum bum bum, diddly boom, bum 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 bum, da da da.